I'm currently listening to Truth, Suffering, and Freedom. Hey, Truth, Suffering, and Freedom. All of Charles Bukowski's philosophy, etc. So I'm listening to that, and basically, it's a summary. It's a summary of Bukowski's ideals and his philosophy is the way he sees the world. And as a fan of Robert Greene and a fan of Bukowski, it's quite crazy because their philosophies are totally different. Maybe that's why I've always had this internalized confusion because Bukowski talks about how, as a person, you should be true to your nature and you should be true to yourself regardless of the consequences. So, the consequences be damned, even if you get killed, even if you live a terribly miserable, lonely, sadistic life, you need to be true to who you are. Now, it's not saying you shouldn't try to be a better person, but you need to accept yourself for who you are and you need to be an original piece of art. You need to be an original character in your story. Whereas Robert Greene tells you that life is a play, life is fiction, and you create the persona that you want to project to the world. Because, in as much as you might have your baseline characteristics, because he does say we all have our baseline characteristics, but in as much as you have your baseline characteristics, you also have the ability to project whatever persona you want. You have the ability to shape yourself, you have the ability to reinvent yourself, and matter of fact, you have the ability to be mischievous and cunning. Now, I think a lot of people get it wrong when Robert Greene is all about Machiavelli. Like a lot of people think Robert Greene is all about Machiavelli, but it's not about Machiavelli. It's about how a human being should not have a static baseline character like Charles Bukowski preaches. Because Robert Greene believes that you have just one life to live. So you might as well live the best life. And you can do that by learning to be an adaptable human being and wear different masks that can relate to different people or different societal norms. Whereas Bukowski tells you, this is who you are, be who you are, be true to who you are. If people don't like you for who you are, fuck them. If people like you for who you are, keep those ones. But be true to who you are. Don't act for anybody. Don't try to change yourself for anybody. Be yourself. You should improve yourself because improving yourself also helps you to live a better life. But you should not try to improve yourself because you're trying to please other people. You should never be a people pleaser. You should just be the person that you are. Be who you are. But Robert Greene says, be who you are. But be water. Be fluid. Be adaptable. Put on different masks to deal with different people so they can get their desired results. How does that relate to me? Sometimes I actually do try to put on a mask and become adaptable, but I realize that I am more of a Bukowski type of person because I think, and lately I've been thinking that I am just a sad soul whereby it's not that I like sadness, but I like the pain that comes with trying to stay true to my identity. Whereas if I become a bit flexible and I try to be better, it's not harmful. And that was one of the reasons why I actually started reading Robert Greene. I started with the laws of human nature because my flatmate told me about Robert Greene and how this book called Laws of Human Nature is about reinventing yourself and knowing how to deal with people. Because I was always complaining to him that at my teaching job, I felt like the people there were always playing games and I just really did not understand what was going on. So I felt like maybe my baseline character is the problem, so I should just be more adaptable. But I realized something. Although today I really did try and I was quite mesmerized by myself with what I did today, I am a very Bukowski type of guy. I like to suffer and fight just to be original to myself. Although I could be original to myself, but also wear a mask and adapt to different scenarios and situations because I think that is what actually makes you a great leader. Your ability to adapt to people and to different scenarios. Your ability to be a seducer. And who is a seducer? A seducer is a person that can be outside their own self. So with Bukowski, it's about me, me. How do I feel? What is going on around me? Me, me. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. Me, me, me. I must be righteous. I must be this. I must be that. And Robert Greene didn't say you should not be righteous, but he says that you should be adaptable. So let's say you're in a scenario that questions your righteousness, rather than being Bukowski, like I'm righteous. These people, like maybe whistleblowing, and then putting yourself in a dangerous scenario where you could get killed or things could blow up and could lead to a world war. Robert Greene would tell you that you should put on a mask and it wouldn't tell you to look the other way. It would tell you to first analyze the things and to know the consequences of how whatever action you might want to take, how these consequences would affect not just you, but everybody around you. So Robert Greene lets you realize that it's more than self. Life is more than self. Because while listening to this here, and this really resonated with me, it's all about being true to yourself, but being also a righteous person and not being manipulative, not being conniving, just being true to yourself, and whoever doesn't want that part of you to fuck off. But Robert Greene tries to let you understand that people will not always accept you for who you are, the way you are, because different people have different background stories. So you cannot expect people to just accept you, but you cannot fault them if they don't expect you because different people have different things that they've been through. So he now tells you that rather than self isolate and because Bukowski talks about isolation a lot, but he also talks about how he doesn't like isolation, but how he ends up in isolation. You should read Dog is a Love is a Dog from Hell and some of his other poems. So he talks about how he is always isolated, but he doesn't mind the isolation because he is true to himself. Don't get me wrong, Bukowski does have women in his life and he has few friends, but he does talk a lot about isolation. And trust me, I'm a huge fan of Bukowski. I've lived on Bukowski philosophies most of my entire life. But then I realized that the one thing that comes with Bukowski's philosophy is sadness and self-loathing because you realize that sometimes, yeah, you need to see from other people's perspective because life is not just about you. And sometimes you need to make some compromises for some scenarios because there is more to life than you. Life, it's a solar system. So in as much as you're trying to be righteous and you're trying to uphold some things, you should realize that You need to factor everybody around you into what you're trying to do. You have to also factor their feelings, their emotions, their backgrounds, how they grew up, their level of education, their standard of understanding. So it's not just about me and me trying to be true to myself. It's about me and me trying to be true to myself, but also realizing that I need to find a way to also adapt to people, and I need to find a way to gradually and slowly turn people over to my side. Because Bukowski tells you, just show who you are, and if they don't like it, fuck them. Like this, fuck off. But Greene tells you that show who you are slowly. But when you get to a place, do not even show who you are. Calm down and observe people around you. Know who they are. After you observe, then mold your character to what aligns with their personality. And then if you want them to do something, then slowly, gradually turn them over to your side. But if you just come to a place and just show them your character the way you are, and they do the whole things the way you want to do things, and tell them you don't like the way I do my things, then fuck you, go to hell. Then you just make more enemies and you end up in isolation, which is what Bukowski faces a lot of times, which is isolation. And I feel like that is one of the reasons why Bukowski smokes and drinks a lot. Oh my god, I am Bukowski. Oh, this is amazing. but then, now let me tell you the truth. The truth is, when you've practiced Bukowski and you've tried practicing Robert Greene, see, there is this soul. I don't know if there is a word called solar, but there is this soul level form of awakening and beauty and intoxication that comes with accepting yourself so much, and you tell everybody to fuck themselves and they should go to you. It's like you merge with the universe, because it's like you're not trying to put on a mask at any point in time. You're just yourself. And I see myself as sometimes it's like I'm trying to wear a mask, but I then realize that I'm not actually trying to wear a mask. It's just me having my own different split personality. So unlike Bukowski, and I cannot say this for a fact because I didn't know how Bukowski lived in life, but most people based your personality as the one they see most of the times. Because why? Morgan Housel says it in Psychology of Money, which is pessimism sells faster. So most people, it is the pessimistic part of you that they always remember. They will never really remember the optimistic part of you, because the pessimistic part of you, and that's why toxic relationships give an illusion of being stronger, but I don't think it's an illusion. I think toxic relationships are more intoxicating than genuine loving relationship, because the human mind loves that negative energy. It is addictive. It's like that push and pull. It's addictive. That rage, anger, sadness. It's just so much sweeter than butterflies every day, morning, afternoon, night. Butterflies, 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 like it's like, but then when it is like butterflies, but like with so much darkness, it's like the human mind longs for that intoxication. And Adler Freud, is it Freud? No, Adler is different from Freud. Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud calls it the death drive, which is your want to die. So because of your death drive, it's like you don't want to die, but there's that part of you that wants to return back to the creator, that wants to be one with the divine, with the universe. So because you want to be one with the divine, with the universe, if you are a person that does not really care, that does not care about other people's opinion of himself, yeah, you attain a higher level of internalized emotional awakening with the divine, compared to a person that is always putting on different masks to win people over. And that is why politicians, although this is not a fact because I wouldn't know, but Politicians seem like they are conniving and that they can wear different masks. But if you compare a politician with just I'm going to say old man Roger. I don't know why I'm saying old man Roger, but old man Roger. But I can't remember his name. Buradley. So let's say I'm using Buradley from To Kill a Mockingbird, and I haven't really read To Kill a Mockingbird back to back, but the little I know, Buradley is a very main strict person. So if you have someone like Buradley and we have someone like a politician, you'd realize that the politician is richer and he looks externally happier, which is one thing Bukowski was also saying in his book, that people that follow Robert Greene's philosophy and do not get Robert Greene wrong, is not saying you should not be original. It's just telling you that you should learn to be adaptable. But then adapting all the time makes you lose your originality because you become a chameleon. And at some point, you forget who you are. You start to lose your baseline identity. So unlike a politician that is very adaptable to scenarios and people, and then we have Buradley, who is very, I won't say stoic, but who is very true to himself, and he knows himself from head to toe, and he would tell the entire universe to fuck themselves because he would never betray himself. And I'm not saying that Buradley is even a good person. I'm saying that he is a person that has internalized his own ideology and will not change for the world. But Bukowski tells you to try to be a better person. So it's like, know who you are. Don't change for the world. Change for yourself. But when you are a person that cannot change for the world and you're changing for yourself, you become complacent in some ways because deep down, these things that you like, you actually like that feeling. When you rage, you like the rage because it is intoxicating. So once you realize with someone like Buradi and the politician is that internally, Buradi might be so quiet and angry all the time, but when it comes to spiritual awakening and their sensitivity to the divine, Buradi is more sensitive to the divine than the politician, because the politician might seem happier, it might have a connection of friends, it might have more power, more money, and everything, but I'm not saying this for a fact, but this is based on my own personal divine energy, because I've tried being the kind of person that Robert Greene talks about, and I'm a very Bukowski type of person, and I realized that my truest form with the divine is when I am unapologetically myself and I am not trying to put on any seductive mask to please anybody or to win people over to my side or to make them bend. It's like in that moment of absolute acceptance of oneself, you become awakened with the divine. And the thing is, that feeling transcends the feeling you have towards mortals. That feeling makes you understand the beauty in isolation, because then the external world might see it as isolation, but you, in that moment, it's like you are awakened with a universe that is within, spreading out into the without, and it's like your isolation is not even isolation, it's just a form of purity with the divine. Whereas when you're wearing this mask to win people over, to try to be an adaptable person, acceptable person, and you're just trying to do things the right way in a civilized manner, and I'm not saying you should not do that, I'm just telling you what my own expression of these philosophies are. When you're that kind of person, and not just an abstract expression, but something I've actually practiced, when you're kind of that person, you realize that fine, people start to smile at you, start to have money, I start to have many friends, like life becomes a lot easier, but you lose that fire that speaks to the divine. So it's like you're sacrificing something from within to get accepted from the without, but it's like that's life force in you that speaks of glory with the divine, that transcends the understanding of human mind. It diminishes.
And this is why I use British psychology because as soon as I said diminishes, my phone went to 2 0 0 0 0 0, like I was like, oh, so like I had a mental orgasm for a split second. Oh, philosophy is amazing, man. I love my brain. I also love that I'm a scientist, so I experiment a lot of things I say. I don't just yap. I experiment my yapping. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. I was the normal usual would never say something like and subscribe because that sounds so tasty. But then this is why I now feel like I'm starting to become a human being that is like having a different type of awakening. Just like Bukowski, yeah. But then I realized that I can. I will use myself as an example. I don't want to say you can or a human can. I can attain, and this is where the old me would have raged a bit because as soon as I said I can, then I was going to say, oh, you can. A frequency from a car or something sounded around my vicinity that did. So it was like trying to keep my thoughts in check and put me back to I can. And that is why the UK, which is sad now because now I'm digressing from the divine energy within me, of me trying to transcend into my own thoughts and deciphering my own new type of philosophy. And that is why I realized something about the UK. The UK is a land that's nothing good that is not conventional or that has not been ordained by some set of people can bloom. And it wouldn't break, it might have broken my heart. And this is terrible of me speaking, but this is me trying to also awaken my own divinity. And by divinity, I don't mean magical powers, I mean the divine in me, although that is selfish and self centered. And because, and this is where I still really fuck with Robert Greene because when you rationalize things and you calm down to do things, it makes you realize that all you need to do is just relax. But at that particular point of relaxation, you don't ascend into the divine. You never ascend. So, unlike when you're acting on your emotions and you're acting on things coming into your brain, you are ascending, you're feeling emotions that cannot be understood by mortals because you cannot explain it to people around you. It's like you're high on drugs. But when you're using the Robert Greene zone, it's like you want to ascend, but you calm yourself down, then you rationalize it and like, okay. And then you want to ascend again, but you calm yourself down, you understand it. But then I also realized that because I was thinking that when I'm done with Bukowski's philosophy, then I would check out the philosophy of people who have a form of Bukowski's type of philosophy, but this time not philosophy, types of psychology, but a different philosophy, which is Bukowski's philosophy is to be true to yourself, yes, but his psychology is that he's a, I don't want to say he's a sadist, but I'll use part of the 70% of his persona, which is bad, but that is how the human world works, and that is terrible. But I shouldn't do that. But for my own clarity, and this is, I think, the level of understanding I have gotten to right now, and that is thanks to the baton I'm hearing upstairs and the koishe. So it's like, yeah, your mind as a person cannot really ascend into different realms of understanding, especially if you are a creative person that thinks, because there's so many barriers that is in place. And this is where I would have said that I would have been heartbroken if I realized that it was done to me alone. But I realized that it is even done to their own people. So it's like they do it to their own people. I wouldn't have known the son shouted Bekale. But you don't, the thing is, you don't need to tell me. Or maybe it is the demon. But I don't think it is the demon. But you don't need to tell me because right now I am trying to understand my own ascension and my own train of thoughts. So it's not about you. Now, so I've realized that it affects their own children. And that is both white and black. Shout out to teaching because if I had never taught, I would have never seen this thing. So, and this is where I'm trying to rationalize it. So, because I'm trying to rationalize it now, my ability to ascend has dropped, which is, I was going to say, and that is good because the Bible says, he who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. So, because they don't want other people to ascend, even they themselves are unable to ascend, but they wouldn't care about that level of ascension because the country has given them the basic needs that they need or that they want. So I think it's only left for some certain group of caliber of people to have access to this level of ascension without these barriers being given to them. And that is why there was a time when I was living in Manchester, I realized that the classism in the UK is so different from the classism in Nigeria. It's like the classism is so crazy that is even there's even mental classism going on in this country. It's so structured that the classism is structured. It's astonishing. But I was unable to ascend my thoughts because I kept hearing these things, and the sad thing is I was paying attention to them. I could have also ignored it, but it is so difficult ignoring background noise. It is so difficult. So difficult. So difficult. Fuck. And I used to think the person that can help me to survive in this country is Bukowski. But I think it has to be Robert Greene because you have to be an actor. But then, Robert Greene also lets you understand that it's not the end of the world as long as you get what you want from it. But you see, if you're a human being, that's personally speaking, I say a lot of things about money. I like money, but it's one thing I like more than money is that dopamine. I call it dopamine. Maybe that is not the full representation of what it is anymore. But there is that thing that helps you to ascend. We are extremely true to your nature. And this is where I was going to connect two forms of philosophy together, which is now I was saying something, I almost lost that. Which is so we have Bukowski having his own psychology and his own philosophy. So Bukowski's psychology, I was going to say sadist, but it's not a sadist. It's just a human being that is 70% sad and 30% of his different characteristics. Then, and then he has his own philosophy of being extremely true to who you are. So I think I almost made a mistake. So I want to find another person that shares the same philosophy as Bukowski, but a different psychology. So it's like be extremely true to yourself, but then 70% of butterflies and sunshines and rainbows. So I want to see how they were able to live their life and the results that they both got from their existence. Because with someone like Robert Greene, and this is why I now feel bad for Robert Greene, because for someone like Robert Greene, I don't think Robert Greene would ever be able to ascend into that divine energy because he will have to always keep constantly putting on a mask and keep constantly changing to attend to the needs of the people around so as to persuade them. But that will make a great leader, I think, but that will not make a great emperor. Yeah. I think I don't like to be an absolute person in my thoughts. Now, I think I'm able to get to a level of awakening whereby I can merge both of them together and still ascend. Because I think, in as much as you can be extremely true to yourself, regardless of the darkness, regardless of you going 70% darkness or 70% rainbows and butterflies, and you can be a person that puts on different masks to persuade and appeal to different sides of people. In mathematics, and this is basic mathematics, there's something called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like John has five blue pencils, and then Jane has no, John has five blue five blue pencils and two red pencils. Jane has three red pencils and seven green pencils. So when you mix these pencils together and then you do something called not permutation. In mathematics, they draw circles, so you now find the ones that they share together. When you find the ones that they share together, it's like you can be able to like exhume like an elixir from it. Oh, I almost started. But then again, that part of the UK that I said, I might be wrong because UK is like the cradle of knowledge and understanding. So how can the cradle of knowledge and understanding have barriers? So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just my own internalized biasness and probably a form of hatred I have towards the country because of what the country has done to me. So I might have to take that part again. But thank you for watching because I need to go and study. See ya.